Testing 1, 2. Okay, so welcome to Vinyasa Yoga. I'm Danny. I'll guide your practice today. And if you have a blanket towel and, and something that's like a book or block, we're going to be using these two props today in our practice. So one of the things that yoga yoga doesn't do so well is activating the back body in its strength. So we have something called the posterior chain of muscles. It's basically all the muscles that run up the back body, and hamstrings and glutes are the ones that tend to be quite weak in yoga practitioners. And sometimes tightness in the hamstrings can actually be weakness in the hamstrings. So you may have even heard the cue to soften your glutes in some postures in yoga. And that is old news. We really want to activate through the posterior chain. When you're in standing, that's what's keeping you upright. So the human body has been evolved to have those muscles be strong, and we want them to be strong. So we're going to work with some stuff today to activate the back chain of muscles a little bit more. I want to show you particularly one thing that we'll be doing. So I'll show you in two different views. So at one point we'll be in a bridge pose, and this is where you're going to want your blanket. This is a huge hamstring workout. So I'm actually going to be with my feet further out from my sitting bones than a normal bridge pose. And if you do have a block, this is where placing the block in between your inner thighs can be beneficial. And from there, we're going to rise up and actually slide the blanket out. Toes can lift, and then draw back in. Slide out, draw back in. So I'll show you a different angle here just so you get to see it this way. So it'll be drawing out, and you don't have to go very far. So the further you go, the more work it is. And then the other piece is when I'm up in the bridge, I'm keeping everything here. Glutes engaged. It's a pretty clear line between my torso and hips. So that's a lot already there for me. So we'll play with that, and then we'll do a few other things as well, which are a little bit easier. So I'll guide you with those live. All right, so to start out, let's begin in a standing position. Have your props near you. Once we get there, start out in standing. And make any adjustments that you need in your body to feel supported, feet hip distance apart or a little bit wider. Feel free to rock a little bit, make any fidgets, movements with your upper body. And from there, pause as you settle into your stance. Lengthen from the ground all the way to the sky. Relax through your eyelids, partway or completely closed. And take in a deep, full breath in. Open mouth exhale, option for sound or sigh. And from there, take one of your hands to your belly center. Take the other hand back behind. So in a comfortable way, the back of the palm rests at the low back, lumbar spine area. Just a little bend in the elbow just to make contact with your back body. So often this back line is ignored, partly because we're not looking at it. This opportunity to reconnect to this whole chain of muscles that is part of the human experience that helps us stay strong, to help us stay upright and exploring the world. From here, begin to deepen through your breath. Inhale through your nose, soften through your mouth. Full breathing, full diaphragmatic breath, option for Ujjayi or Ujjayi pranayama, ocean sounding breath, like contraction at the back of your throat. Gentle hum to create a bit more heat and offer a mental anchor for your mind. Take your time to cultivate a full, expansive breath, awakening in 360 degrees. With your next exhalation, gradually release your hands by the side of your body. Inhale to circle sweep your arms up to the sky. Extend the palms high. Palms touch. With exhale, hands fold down, pausing at heart center. Take a moment to create focus, intention, direction for your time in your space today. What is it that you need? It could be around this exploration of strength, stability in your back body. If there's something else that you want to call in, openness, forgiveness, clarity, ease, healing, call that in as well. And to affirm your focus, each other's company, gently bow head to heart. And gradually release your hands. Inhale again. Sweep the arms up to the sky. With exhalation, hinge at your hips, fold forward, right into a forward bend. Inhale to lift and lengthen, halfway up, spine long, little L shape. Exhale, fold back down towards the earth. Step back with your right foot back behind. Back knee lowers down to the mat or to the earth. Round as your front leg moves towards its degree of straight. Inhale to draw forward. Arc through your low back open. So this is our cow stretch. Exhale to round back into our cat stretch. Flow with your own movement and breath here. If you do have one or two blocks handy, you can always use them for a little bit more support here, especially if your back line of body is feeling tight at the moment. You can stay with the back knee down, or know that you can also take the back knee off of the earth for another layer of exploration. So honoring your own body here. Final cycle, wherever you're at, to round. Use the next cycle breath to release your knee if it's not down. Inhale to lift torso and arms to the sky. With your exhalation, left hand to your hip, right arm up and over, side body stretch. Inhale through center. Exhale, arc. A few more cycles here. Breathe space into the right side of your body. And with the inhale, rise back up through center, both arms extend. Exhale, twist, gentle revolve to the right side of your space. Inhale to lift, back through middle. Exhale again, revolve. Inhale to lift. Exhale, twist. Inhale to rise back up to the sky. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift your back knee high. With your exhalation, take your time. Step up to the front edge of your mat, forward bend. Inhale to lift and lengthen halfway up. With exhalation, fold back down. Inhale to elongate halfway. With exhale, bend your knees, shift the weight, rise up all the way to standing. Exhale, hands to your heart space. With inhalation, gaze down to the earth, lift up, right foot anchors, left knee rises, hip height. Exhale, lower the hand and the foot down to the ground. Inhale to rise up. With the exhalation, hands float down to heart center. Inhale, root into your left foot. Right arm rises, or right leg rises rather. Open circle, exhale to lower your foot down, both feet grounded. Inhale to extend, arms to the sky. Exhale, hinge and fold, forward bend. In breath to lift, part way rise. With exhalation, fold back down to the ground. Step your left foot back behind you. Same motion as before. In breath to sink in, open through your front body. With your exhalation, back off, round. Feel free to stay here or lift your back knee off of the ground. Focusing on the extension of the spine. Let go of any tension through your mouth, your jaw. Final cycle here to round through your back body. Next time you come forward, pause, knee in line with your ankle, back knee lowers to the earth. Use an inhale to rise back up through center. Exhale, right hand to your hip, left arm up and over, little arc. Breathe into the left side of your body. Use your breath, inhale to center, exhale to arc. Keep your legs steady, strong here. With inhale, as you rise through center, both arms extend. Exhale, twist and open to your left side. Move with your breath here, a few cycles. Final cycle to revolve your own speed. Inhale to lift back up through middle. Exhale, hinge, lower, frame your front foot. Inhale, lift your back knee high. Exhale, step up, front edge of your mat, forward bend. Inhale to elongate halfway up. With exhalation, fold back down. Inhale to lengthen, partway rise. Exhale, bend your knees, shift the weight back, root. Inhale to rise, circle the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands fold through heart. Look down for gaze support, balance. Inhale, palms lift up to the sky. Right knee rises, arms open. This time, pause them at T position. Little micro bend through your left knee. Build a little bit more fire here. One more breath. Exhale, foot lowers to the ground, hands to heart, hinge and fold right into forward bend. Inhale to lengthen halfway up. Exhale, bend your knees, shift the weight back. Inhale, rise up, circle the arms all the way to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart, gaze down for balance. Inhale, right foot anchors, left knee floats as the arms lift. Open your arms out wide, T position here, micro bend in right knee, strong legs. One more inhalation. Exhale, foot lowers, hinge and fold right into forward bend. Inhale, free the spine, halfway rise. Exhale to fold back down to the ground. Step back, hands plant, feet back, downward dog, hips high. Take time to pedal out, walk out, activate through your finger pads, open your mouth, your jaw. Stabilize through your down dog, bent knee support for low back here. Lots of elongation from fingertips to your hips. With the inhale, roll forward, high plank pose, top of a push-up here. Knees can support or lower from here all the way down onto your mat. Lengthen your legs back. Legs stay hip distance apart, hands slide a little back, thumbs in line with breastbones. Here, activate your legs as if you had a block in between your thighs. Squeeze your glutes, beginning that activation. Inhale to lengthen forward, then add the height for cobra pose. You can stay right there or pulse out and back in if this is too intense. Stay with the breath. One more breath here. Exhale to lower all the way down. Curl your toes under, option for table, or lift your knees. Inhale, right up plank. Exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Pose, stabilize in downward dog. With inhalation, expand right leg up to the sky, three-legged downward facing dog. Exhale, knee towards nose. Inhale again, leg high to the sky. Exhale, knee to nose. One more time, inhale to lengthen back. With exhalation, draw forward, pause here for 3, 2, 1. Exhale, step your foot through in between your hands, legs active. In breath to rise up, torso and arms to the sky, crescent lunge pose. Little micro bend in the back knee, scoop in the tail, active to keep your ribs in line with your hips. Arms can always go out wider or release onto your thigh or hip points rather for a little bit more support. One more inhale. With exhale, lean your torso forward, either 45 degrees with the arms out for more support, hands onto your front thigh. Scoop the tail a little, tone through your low belly, super activation through the low back and the abdominals. Inhale to rise back up through center. With exhalation, hands through heart center, lower your back knee down to the earth, offer it support if it needs more. Inhale to lift, arms to the sky. With exhalation, twist right, one hand to knee, one arm back behind or to the low back. Inhale to rise back up through center. Exhale, lower your hands down. Inhale to lift, back knee high. With exhalation, active core. Step your right leg long behind you, three-legged dog. Take an inhale here. Exhale, shift the weight forward, one-legged plank pose. You can always lower the foot down if this is too much. Stabilize here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, lower the foot, press back, hips high, downward facing. Connected breath. Letting go any tension. And with your inhale, extend left leg high to the sky, three-legged down dog. Exhale, coil in, knee towards nose. 3 more times here, working with your breath. On the final cycle, as you hug your knee in, pause and sustain for 3, 2, 1. Slowly step. Foot in between your hands. Take your time. Steady legs. In breath to rise up, torso and arms to the sky. Back knee in a little bend to ensure the ribs don't overflare here. Over accentuating the lumbar spine. Listening to your body. One more breath in. Use your exhale, lean forward, torso at 45 degrees, arms back behind like wings, or if you need a little bit less intensity, both palms land onto your front thigh. So customize the practice for your own experience in this moment. Inhale to elevate your arms, torso level. Exhale, hands to heart. Lower your back knee down to the ground. Steady legs. In breath, palms rise. With out breath, open and twist over to the left side. Honor your range of motion here in the rotation. And then the twist, shift your awareness to your back body. So bringing that attention to what's going on in that posterior chain of muscles, calves and hamstrings, glutes, all the way up to the shoulders, trapezius, top of the shoulders. Inhale to rotate back through center space. Exhale, hands float down. Lift your back knee. Inhale with the exhale, strong core. Extend your left leg back behind you, three-legged down dog. Inhale to float forward, high plank pose, top of a push-up. Stabilize here. Foot off the ground if that's available for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, lower your foot. Gradually press back, knees bent, downward facing dog pose. Full inhale breath. Your exhalation, feel free to look out in front. Make your way to the front edge of your mat. Mindful transition there, right into a forward bend. Inhale to lift and lengthen halfway up. With exhalation, bend your knees. Shift the weight back, root. Inhale, circle sweep the arms, rise up to the sky, palms touch. This time, exhale, hands to heart. Look down, right into balance, right knee floats. Inhale, open the arms out to the side. One more breath here. With your exhalation, hands come to your hips. Shift your weight back behind. Keep the back knee bent. Front knee bends just a little bit. Gaze point to the earth. Inhale to rise back up through center, honoring any heat on your standing leg. Little micro bend there. Exhale to draw back behind. Inhale again. If you fall out, no big deal. Give yourself some support, rise. One more time to shift back. Mini warrior 3. Inhale to rise back up. With your exhalation, lower your foot down to the earth. In breath, circle the arms up to the sky. Honor any sensation on standing leg. Exhale, hinge. And fold, forward, bend. In breath to lengthen, halfway lift. Exhale, bend your knees, shift the weight back. Inhale, rise up, gaze to the earth, circle the arms. Exhale, hands to heart, float left knee towards hip height for balance. Stabilize yourself here. Remember the micro bend on your right knee to support activation of leg muscles. Deep breath. Exhale, start to explore. Shift the weight back, arms can expand. Keep the back knee bent here. Inhale to draw back. Can even add this little motion. Arms expand open as you shift back into this mini warrior 3. When you come back through center, hands to heart. Check in if this side feels easier or harder. Oftentimes there's different strength in the muscles on the sides of your body. One more cycle here. With the in-breath, as you rise forward, pause. Exhale to lower your foot down. Honoring sensation, inhale to circle the arms. Exhale, hands fold down through heart center, forward bend. Inhale to lift, halfway up here, spine long. With exhalation, 2 options. Fold forward. If your knees are pretty good to go, hands come back behind for this transition. Know that you can do this through table and a swing of the legs forward as well. Start to bend your knees, shift the hips all the way down to the ground. Grab your block, make sure it's handy towards the front edge of your mat. You'll need it in a moment. And with the inhalation, lengthen through your spine. On the exhale, shift the weight a little bit back behind. Lift your feet off the ground. Hands touch down behind you to support. This is a beautiful place to be. If you need more, take the hands to your hamstrings. Keep the whole back body, the spine super long. One more breath. Exhale to lower your feet down to the ground. Create length. Take a moment. From here, return back. Shift the weight back behind. Inhale to lift your feet off the ground. Option to stay here, or with the exhalation, start to extend out. You can pause anywhere along this range. So know that you don't have to go all the way down here to a hover. Inhale to lift back up. Exhale again, shift back, hover. Inhale to lift back up. So honoring your range. If it's right here, that's beautiful as well. Finding the strength for your own core. A few more cycles here. Final cycle here. Shift back wherever you're at for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw back up. Deep breath. Exhale, optional open mouth sound, letting it go. From here, place your block or book to a long area on your mat. Have your feet on the block. So it could be the ankles ankle is probably most comfortable place. And from there, slowly shift back, laying in a supine position. Feet and inner legs hug in towards each other. Activate through your toes. Press out through your forearms, shoulders, anchor just a little bit. On an inhale, start to lift your hips and pelvis off of the ground just a bit. So we're just going level here. Exhale to lower back down. Inhale, again, lift. Exhale to lower. You can stay in this up and down motion, or next time you rise up, pause and sustain. Notice what's happening to your glutes here, inviting activation. There's really very little going on in the upper body here, so using it just as an anchor point. As you continue to sustain, check in what else you're feeling. Anything in the hamstrings, calves? And staying here a few more cycles. Can release earlier than guided. Stay with the breath. One more inhalation. With your exhale, gently release down. Take a moment for pause to disengage all these muscles and see if you can be aware of what's happening there, any reverberation as you invite them to deactivate for a moment through the back line. And from there, gradually release. Draw your feet off of the ground, hands behind of your hamstrings. You can always roll to the right and left to come out of this if it's available for your back. Start to rock on either side of your spine. Chin moves into the sternum to protect and support. And from there, when the feet are out in front, cross your ankles, move your block out of the way, take a moment, shift forward, then step back right into down dog. Take as much time as you need if that version of the transition is not supportive for your body. Stabilize in down dog. Take a moment again to scan through the back line. Deep breathing. With your inhale, extend your right leg high to the sky. Three-legged down dog. Exhale, draw in, knee to nose. Inhale to lengthen, leg up to the sky. Exhale, go wide, right knee towards right elbow. Doesn't need to touch. Pause here and sustain. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, leg high to the sky. Exhale, step your right foot through in between your hands. Stabilize, rise up through crescent lunge pose. Inhale, breath. With your exhalation, spin your back foot open. Arms to T, warrior two pose. Back foot can go out wider for hip support. The stance doesn't have to be way out long. You can have a shorter stance, still building lots of strength in the inner legs. Envision you had a huge block in between both legs, or if you were on ice skates, you would actually split out. So hugging the legs in so the inner adductors stay engaged. With an in-breath, back hand slides behind, top arm up and over, dancing or reverse warrior two pose. And with your exhalation, listen carefully. Both hands move to the inside of your front foot. Gradually shift your right leg straight. Spin your whole body, left foot forward, back heel high. Root your right hand down to the earth. With the inhale, spin and twist. Open to the left side. Deep breath here. Exhale, again, both hands to the inside of your space. Swivel your feet, pause at the center of your mat or space, toes open at around 45 or an angle that feels supportive. Bend your knees. Inhale, rise up right into a wide squat, straighten through the legs. Exhale, sink down into your thighs. Low sink, pause. Inner legs active here. In breath to open the arms, T position, shoulder height. Stay with the breath. And with the inhalation, straighten through your legs once more. Exhale, pivot your feet towards the front edge of your space. Back heel high, lower down. Step back right into one-legged plank pose. Right leg hovers once again. Steady yourself. For more fire, shift the weight to the right fingertips. Left hand comes off of the ground, or take your left palm back behind of your head for a little bit of stability here, or play. One more breath in. Exhale, release hand and foot to the earth. Lower all the way down to the ground, chin at neutral. Palms can come forward. Take a brief moment, brief breath to reset. From here, activate through the right foot down onto the ground. With inhale, start to lift your left foot about half an inch or so off the earth. So just a little bit of a lift there. Fire up, squeeze, especially through your left glute. Keep this or layer on, right arm out in front. Left hand can come by the side of the heart like a cobra hand. Stabilize here, locust pose, firing up through the hamstrings and glutes. You don't need a ton of height here to make this work, so focus on length. If there's any crunch on your lumbar spine, please release the height of the pose. One more inhale. Exhale to lower back down, hands plant, curl your toes. In breath, lift your knees, rise up, table or reverse plank. Downward dog is your next place. Take a moment to receive and notice here. With your in breath, sweep your left leg up to the sky, three-legged down dog. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, leg high. Exhale, draw knee towards left elbow, pause for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, leg to the sky. Exhale, step your left foot through in between your hands. In breath, lift torso and arms, crescent lunge. Exhale, back foot spins, open warrior 2. Take your time, adjust your stance. Scissor hug the inner legs. Again, that ice skate image. Upper body engaged. Acknowledging the heat that you're feeling in your body, whatever degree it's at. And with an in-breath, back hand slides, top arm up and over, dancing warrior, reverse warrior pose, stretch to the side of your ribs. Inhale, breath. Exhale, both hands to the inside of your front foot. Shift, front leg straightens, back foot swivels and turns, left heel high. Root your left hand down. With the inhale, spin and twist, open to the side space. Use an exhaling breath, both hands to the inside of your front foot. Once again, swivel, pause at the center of your mat. Toes at 45 or so, bend your knees. Inhale to rise up, wide squat, arm circle. Exhale, sink a little bit more, hands through heart. Bring the hands to your hips. Take your feet a little bit closer in towards each other, so it's a shorter stance. Stay right there, or for more fire, lift one heel, then the other off of the ground. Steady, ribs in line with your hips, shoulders stacked to the hips. You can stay with the arms there or open the arms T position, honoring any little turbulence, vibration. Sink lower for more fire, you get to choose. Gradually root your heels back down to the ground. Sink, inhale, rise back up through center. With exhalation, swivel your feet front edge of your space. Lower your hands down. Inhale, step back, three-legged downward facing dog, left leg high. Exhale, shift forward, strong core, one-legged plank pose. Stay right there or start to play. Shift the weight to the left fingertips. Right fingertips can tap dance or hand to the back of the head. Mindful of your left shoulder, a little bit of balance here. Exhale, release, hand, foot, slowly descend all the way down to the ground. Take a pause, chin at neutral. And from there, reactivate. Top of the left foot anchors for support. Start to squeeze your glutes, especially the right side. Inhale to lift your right leg just a bit off of the earth. Right hand comes to cobra hand. Left arm can join for a little bit more fire. Remember to focus on length here. Utilize your deep breath as an ally for support. One more inhale. Exhale to release back down. Curl your toes, tabletop or lift your knees. Hug strong. Inhale, reverse plank pose. Exhale, press back. Downward facing dog pose. Always child's pose as an option here if you need a little bit less fire. Otherwise, 3 rounds of integrated, connected breaths. Come back to your intention. This moment, if the mind is drifting. One more breath in. On an exhalation, look out in front, bend your knees, step to the front edge of your mat. Mindful journey there, feet hip distance apart. Inhale to lift and lengthen halfway up. With exhalation, bend your knees, shift the weight back. Inhale, rise up, look down, gaze again for balance, palms lift. Exhale, hands to your heart, shift the weight to your right foot, left knee floats. Deep breath in. On the exhalation, again, shift back behind to our little modified warrior 3 pose. Micro bend in your front knee. Back knee stays bent behind. Keep a length through your whole spinal column here. Arms can extend out, your choice. Fire up through the left glute. Lots of engagement there. Also the back hamstring. You might feel this in your calf as well as your right hamstring. Lots of elongation through your spine. One more breath. Exhale to return. Plant your feet down. In breath, circle sweep the arms. Exhale, hinge and fold, forward bend. Inhale to lift and lengthen part way, rise. Exhale, bend your knees, shift the weight back, chair. In breath, rise up, gaze point for balance. Exhale, palms through heart, shift the weight left, right knee floats. Stabilize yourself here first. Keeping this, now start to play, shift back behind. Hands can always come to hips. We're more focused on the activation of this whole back line. Keep that steady if you want to add a challenge the arm. Keep the angle of the shoulders and hips more towards a 45. Relax through your facial muscles, honoring if this side is easier or harder, a few more cycles to stay with your breath. Inhale. With exhalation, gently return your foot back down to center. In breath to sweep, arms rise to the sky. Exhale, fold, hinge, forward, bend. Inhale to lift and lengthen halfway up. Exhale, fold back down to the earth. This time step back, high plank pose, top of a push-up, steady and strong. Inhale, breath. Exhale, knees can support or bend the elbows, lower all the way down to the ground. Uncurl your toes, take a moment here. Chin can pause at center or forehead. Reclaim your breath. From here, reset, activate through your feet. Take both of your hands, interlace back behind of the back of your head. Squeeze through your glutes as if you had a block. Activate the inner adductors so the legs don't touch, but it's just an activation towards the midline. Keeping this inhale to float torso and legs off of the earth. Exhale to land back down. So this can be a tap dance motion. Inhale to rise, exhale to lower. Still focus on length. So we're not as concerned of how much height. More notice if you're activating through the glutes, you'll also feel the low back here theoretically. If you need more sensation next time we lift, pause here and sustain. Any crunch on the low back, back off the height. For 3, 2, 1. Exhale, release back down. Hands replant. Take a moment. Deep breath in. Exhale to let it go. With the in-breath, rise up your own way, downward facing dog pose. Deep connected breath here. With the exhalation, look out in front, so you can always transition here with the knees down through tabletop. Otherwise, walk the feet towards you, bend through your knees, shift feet back in front, sitting bones towards the ground. And from here, grab your blanket for support, and if you have it, block or book as well. Place your prop out in front of your mat with your feet onto the blanket. Slowly recline back behind. Coming into that hamstring strengthener we did, or I showed at the beginning, take your block in between your thighs here. And remember, this is unlike a bridge pose. The feet are going to be further out than they are in a normal bridge. Toes lift off the ground. And from here, root into your forearms, shoulders. Inhale to lift, squeeze your glutes. Coming into bridge, keep your hips in line with your knees. And then from there, start to explore. Slide the blanket rather out, and then activate, hug, and drag the blanket back towards you. So a few more cycles here. If you're on a carpet, this isn't gonna work great. You can always use one of your hands to lift the head just for a moment to check in with your alignment of hips, knees. Feel free to take a break at any point. This can be quite an activator. A few more rounds here. Final exploration cycle. And gradually release. Soften through the inner legs, your feet. Take a moment. From there, remove your block out to the side space. Final activation here. Readjust your heels about 5 to 6 inches away from your sitting bones for a bridge pose. Set up, arms strong, back of the head, shoulders press. With your inhalation lift, again, squeeze your glutes as you lift into the bridge, as if you had a block there. Keep the inner adductors still active. And from here, on a soft breath, lift your left heel off of the ground. Exhale to lower left heel. Inhale, right heel lifts. Exhale to lower. So keep going back and forth. One heel lifts, one heel lowers. One heel lifts, one heel lowers. You can stay here in this version. If you're wanting a little bit more fire, next time you come to the left side, actually lift your whole left foot, keep the knee bent, lower back down. So as if you were marching in place. Keep your glutes active. And if you're wanting the next layer from here, next time the left foot lifts, actually let it pause and hover. So this is actually a similar position that we were doing in the Warrior 3 pose, the mini Warrior 3 variation. Honor any turbulence. Keep the center of the body in mind here. As you squeeze through the glutes, you might find your right hamstring activating as well. If you're sustaining the legs, switch sides, left foot lowers, right knee floats. Remember, you can stay in motion here. Continue to envision hugging a block in between the left thigh and air on this side. Stay curious as to what's happening in your back body. So wherever you're at in this exploration, for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, gradually release. Foot down, stabilize. One more cycle. Deep inhale for your bridge. Exhale, take a moment or two, slow descent down all the way to the earth. Soften through your muscles. Take a moment to notice. With an inhalation, lift your knees in towards center. Give yourself gentle circular motion here on your low back, your sacrum. From there, pause at center space, happy baby pose. Bend the knees to the right and left, feet to the sky, hands come calves, ankles, feet only. If your low back and sacrum can stay level. Gentle tug down, feet press in resistance skyward if you need more to generate some activation in the inner groins. Soften through your face, your mouth, your jaw. Letting yourself receive the activation and engagement from your practice. And with an inhale, release, extend both legs to the sky, hands behind your hamstrings, point your toes up, stretch the underside of your knees. Knees can stay as bent even as you activate out to the sky. With an exhale, release. Left foot down to the ground, right ankle to left thigh, figure 4. Take your exploration there, stay in that position, or hands behind hamstrings, hands on top of left knee, left foot off the ground. If you're not feeling much there, create a little tug of arm strength towards you, then press everything away from you. So engaging in the isometric here. Make any little micro movements, always welcome. Invite your breath to soften and gradually unlace your fingers, switch sides, left ankle to right thigh below the knee. Take your option on this side. Just listen to your body if it needs something different. in the stretch. And check in with your mind, your attention. Where are you at? If you're moving on to the next thing mentally, see if you can invite yourself back to this time here and now, honoring and savoring this engagement you've undertaken to support your back body. This muscles that keep us upright, strong, walking through the world. One more inhale. With the exhale, gradually release both feet onto the ground. If you're using a yoga mat, separate your feet to the mat width. Otherwise, take your feet a little wider than hip distance. Start to windshield wiper your knees right to left. Just a gentle little twist. Also, a little mild massage on the glutes for some. You also might feel the sacrum, lumbar, little crunk. Sometimes there's a little release in the little crack that can happen. Not a scary crack. And gradually, next time your knees are at center space, pause and make your adjustment for the final pose, Shavasana, corpse pose, relaxation time. Feel free to extend your legs long, use any props, cover up with any layers, cover your eyes. If your low back isn't happy here, you can always keep the knees bent, one knee resting to the side of the other. And make any adjustments that you need to be cozy, comfortable. Take one more deep breath in. With exhalation, open mouth, let it go. Invite your whole body to be soft, to sink into the support of the ground. Relax through your mouth, your jaw, eyes heavy, forehead spacious. Giving yourself this time to integrate, to receive your movement and breath. Full permission to simply be here. I'll be back in a little bit to guide you back out. And very slowly return your awareness back to your physical body here. If you do have some more time in your schedule to stay at rest, feel free to remain. Otherwise, invite a deeper breath and a little bit of motion through fingers, toe tips, eyelids, any other movements, stretches to awaken. With a soft inhalation, bring your knees to center space, roll over to either side in a fetal pose, pausing there for a brief moment. And from this posture of possibility, nurturance, press a hand to the earth, rise back up to take a comfortable seat with your spinal column long. Eyelids relaxed, and the hands connected in front of your heart. Once you're in the upright space, once more take attention to your back body, taking a moment to scan from the soles of your feet all the way to the back of your head. Noticing if there's any added awareness or relationship or feeling through the back line. Into your own dedication and intention for the practice, each other's company, and this ability that we have to strengthen the posterior chain for the sake of the movement that we engage with in the world, this ability that we have to savor life, to engage with life. Gently bow your head to your own heart. Celebrating your wisdom, your strength. Namaste.